Welcome, everybody, to Two Drunk Dudes in a Gun Room.
All brought to you by Savaya Army Entertainment. Sorry, it's morning.
It is early. It is. This is Don.
And Doug.
Hey, today we got a special guest. Juliet Alpha with MorningWood Farm is with us today to talk about his military career and how he came about with farming. Hey, how you doing, Juliet?
Doing good, guys. How are you doing this morning?
Doing good.
Waking up.
Waking up. Hey, tell me a little bit about how your military career went and how you became where you're at now.
Yeah, sure. So I joined, grew up in Iowa City, Iowa, predominantly. Joined the Marine Corps in 2006, September 2006. Went to Iraq in 2007, went to Afghanistan late 2009, 2010. Got out after I got home from Afghanistan later in the year, September 2010. Got out and like a lot of vets, man, it was end of 2010. The economy was still really crappy from the recession and whatnot. Didn't have a plan. They tell you to have a plan, but you're just kind of laser focused on getting out of the garrison life, or at least I was.
Yep.
And so got out. I was stationed in Lejeune at the time, and I couldn't even get a job like at a grocery store or anything like that. And so moved to Florida with my now wife. She went to the University of Tampa down there. I'd never been to Florida. Like I said, I didn't have any obligations or anything I had to do. So I'm like, yeah, let's check it out. Let's go to Florida. So went down to Florida a couple of years, and I mean, same kind of thing. The economy was it was just ransacked down there.
Yeah.
Housing market, everything. So we spent like 2 years down there. She got a good job because she had a degree and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of just did a couple of different things to survive, went to school, got some school under my belt. And then we relocated back up to the Carolinas, to North Carolina, I guess, beginning of 2013.
Okay.
Lived in the city for a couple of years, which just was not my thing. And, working and living in the city, just the regular grind, right? And I was just pretty miserable. It's one thing to work in the city and do a job that you may or may not love to pay the bills, but to then go home and just, nothing against anybody that lives in the city and cul-de-sacs and communities. I'm not knocking it. There, some people love it.
Yeah.
For me, I hate it.
Yeah.
I want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah. So just kind of got to a breaking point in, I guess, mid to late 2014. And we found a place, like an hour west of the city, hour and 15 minutes west of Charlotte, kind of between Asheville and Charlotte. So foothills is what they call it, because we're not far from the mountains. And we just kind of changed our life, uprooted our life. We had, my daughter was only a few months old. She had been born in, actually tomorrow's her birthday. So she was born July 3rd of 14. And so we found a place with a few acres that we leased for like 3 years near where we're at now. And then eventually bought the place we're at now a couple of years ago. So that's what led us out here. And it's just been kind of a progression of, and then the pandemic happened. So just taking the city life, uprooting it, getting into the country, and then slowly kind of figuring things out. And then when the pandemic hit, I don't know if it was my gut. I'm surely not smart enough to have just come up with it on my own. It was kind of just watching everything that was happening around us.
Right.
And I just remember that first weekend in March when the toilet paper stuff started, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I thought it was a joke at first. And I'm pretty unplugged. Like, I stopped watching TV for all intents and purposes, probably like 2017, somewhere in there, 16 maybe. I just turned it off. I walked away from it, the news especially. And so I didn't really know what it was, but I just had this feeling, over the next coming days, like if this is real at all, and if people are worried about toilet paper, my mind immediately thought, listen, I'm not worried about how to clean my ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you guys, like you've been worse places with a set of baby wipes and a bottle of water or something like that, right?
Yep.
So I just kind of told my wife, I'm not trying to sound crazy. I'm not scared, but let's just dig our heels in. And again, not trying to sound whatever, but the first thing that I did, I remember the day, I think it was like March 21st or something like that. I just went and bought more ammunition than I'd ever purchased in my life, because I could see the writing on the wall. Absolutely. I knew the stupidity that was about to start happening. And I don't know how I knew it. I don't know if it was just having an overall distrust for everything or what, but I did that. I bought a bunch of canned food, not because, again, I was scared, but because I'm like, listen, if any of this is real, beans, bullets, and Band-Aids, right?
Yep.
I mean, just kicking it back. And so I just figured, what's the worst thing that happens? Is I spend this money on some of this stuff and I'm prepared, or I don't and I'm not.
Right.
Because I can always shoot off rounds and have fun, and I could donate the canned food or we'll eat it. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely.
So that's kind of really where things start to push me into, we had a piece of land for years and we were calling it MorningWood Farm, as just, a homestead, or so to speak.
Kind of at that point, what did you have there?
So all we had at that point, you're talking about like when I'm talking about when the pandemic hit and all that kind of stuff? Really horses and chickens and dogs, you know what I mean? So the only thing that we didn't have, we weren't raising our own meat or anything at that point. But, we did have and still do a pretty good surplus of eggs. Yeah. But my whole thinking there was, my wife said something like, well, we'll have eggs. Is that necessary? And I'm thinking, well, if the have-nots come for what the haves have, then they're going to take your chickens or whatever, and I know I was thinking way out here, but I
don't think so. Just because everybody else wasn't thinking that at that time doesn't mean it's out of the box. It means that a lot of people have gotten lazy and they forgot where we came from.
Right.
And I'm like you, I don't think we've seen the worst of it yet. I really don't.
I don't think we have either. And quite honestly, I'm not saying I had everything squared away. There's still things that I'm thinking every day, like, man, I should really be storing 20 or 30 gallons of fuel somewhere.
Yeah.
In a gas caddy of some sort. And I don't have a whole home generator, which I should have, so there's still things I'm trying to figure out. Okay, what do I do now? But at the same point in time, my property's full of deer. I know I can kill one of those and eat it if I have to, or want to, whatever. So that's kind of it. I don't know how far you want me to go, but that's where I really started to dig my heels in, especially after I saw just everything that was happening. Right, we're gonna tell you what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
And we're also simultaneously just going to continue to inflate the price of everything.
Yep.
And I'm a meat eater. So if that's what I'm going to buy, and you're going to keep inflating it, well, hell, I got 13 acres. Let me get some of my own. And
I just paid $11 for a pork tenderloin yesterday. So, yeah.
Right. That's ridiculous.
It is.
And so to put that in perspective, I'm selling that. So now fast forward a little bit. I'm selling pork, trying to get into beef next. But my whole thing with that is, let me sell a quality product that I know where it came from. It was treated right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come in above the quote unquote cheap stuff at the grocery store, but maybe a little bit lower than some of the high premium stuff, because I'm not trying to gouge anybody, but I'm raising a premium product.
Yeah.
So I want to feed the community, and hey, if you're gonna give the local grocery store your money for some stuff that you don't know where it came from, let's feed it back to the farmers, the local farmers.
Absolutely.
So Yeah, that's what made it. But the pandemic, everybody complained about how bad it was, and for different reasons. I understand some of that was, but for us, and I think others too, it made us dig our heels in, and it made us figure out like, hey, no, we don't have to do X, Y, and Z, and so that's
Well, and a lot of that price inflation and everything, they talk about the cost of shipping and everything, right?
mm-hmm.
What a lot of people don't know, I owned a trucking company for about 6 years. And
Okay.
What a lot of people don't know, as owner operators, we couldn't compete with Walmart and JB Hunt and Schneider and all them. Because what a lot of people don't realize is in the 80s, they set up a contract with the railroad company. And
Sure.
in that contract, they were never allowed to raise the prices that they got paid for shipping within Walmart. All these companies had that contract with Walmart. So Walmart is still paying 1980 prices for shipping. And that's why you see a lot of trucks, trailers on the railroad and everything else, and it's made it harder on them. It was a bad contract for the trucking companies, but
sure.
Somebody like me, where I need $1.39 a mile to pay my house and to pay the truck expenses, I can't compete for guys that are hauling, from the line haul for $2.
Right.
By the time the agent gets theirs, you're under $1 for me.
Oh yeah.
Well, and to add insult to that injury, talking about Walmart, which is my least favorite place on earth, for the record. Shout out to Walmart.
We had a podcast on that.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I need to listen to that one then, because I'm telling you, I'm not. I refuse. My wife will. I don't go there. I won't go there.
Yeah.
And if there's some type of emergency and she needs me to get something, it's going to be at like 6 a.m. on a Saturday through the garden center, and I'm getting out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I can't do it, man. It brings the worst out of me as a human being.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I was just there. I was just there yesterday.
Doesn't matter what meds you take.
And by the time I left, man, I was like, fuck, my meds are not working right now.
No, your shoulders are like this.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. It's the worst body of people and inside of one place with zero common courtesy to anyone. Yep. And then you got 50 checkout lanes and one of them's open. And then you want me to scan my stuff for you.
Yep.
Right. Well, let me clock in. You know what I mean? Like I'm not, and those things don't work. Anyways, man, it's too early to talk about Walmart.
We're going to make another fucking podcast on Walmart.
Dude. But back to your trucking thing, in the 80s and even the early 90s, I mean, Sam Walton would be rolling in his grave if he knew what that place was.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, at least when that contract was signed, they were still selling stuff, proud to, American made a decent amount of it,
Yeah.
And now it's that store might as well just be, should just be leveled from the earth, but whatever.
Yeah. And that's kind of been an ongoing problem with our economy. And I'm not saying that the big business is all the issues we have right now. But
no.
When old money started handing the businesses over to their kids who did not grow up the same way as what the old money did, they literally came from nothing up to where they were at. And then they handed it over to their kids that have had a comfortable, non-trying life. Yes. And now all they learned is their college business. And all they think now is, I need the bottom line. My bottom line has to be the best it can be.
Yep.
And they completely forgot that if you don't inject money back into the economy, the people don't have the money to buy your goods.
Correct.
Keep the business going. And
correct.
They went overseas to get cheap ass labor, and they're trying to sell to people that are struggling to find one job that can raise a family and pay their bills. And it doesn't exist anymore. No,
it doesn't exist anymore. Unfortunately. And to your point, it's not just the big stores that are the problem. And I understand there's layers to this, right? But that's why I love what Origin and Jocko and them are doing, because they're bringing that stuff back to America.
Yep.
So, but we do need to get people on board as much as possible. And I know it's really tough right now, but we do need to get people back on board with caring about buying what's made here.
Yep.
Because because like you said, it's not just the big box stores, but the consumer, you and me, we're looking at our bottom line right now.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's hard to go buy $100 pair of jeans, even though you know they're going to probably last the rest of your life.
Yep.
But but there's value in that, you know, there's value in buying from here.
Yep.
As I'm talking to you on something that was made in a different country. So.
Yeah. I mean, but like you can't, there isn't any manufacturing like there used to be. So now,
right.
you know, we might assemble and they call it made in the US, but the product that was made out of it, all the stuff came from overseas, whether it be the plastics, you know, and we did that kind of to ourselves with all these EPA and OSHA regulations. Companies don't want to deal with it, you know. And I'm not saying that those are all bad, but they play a big part in what it costs to run a plant anymore. You know, it really
I think the bottom line of what we're saying here is the government screws up just about everything.
They've gotten too big.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
They don't even take accountability for their actions anymore, and that's where it came down to.
Well, I mean, look at the other side. Look at what you're doing right now, though, as far as like the farming community, right?
Right.
That continues to this day get smaller and smaller. You know,
because of big ag.
Well, not only the big ag, but it's you know, like here, right? You'll hear stories and stories and stories about how this guy owned 1,800 acres, this guy owned 260 acres, and it was passed down to, you know, their grandkids or something, and that generation or whatever, you know, they had that life, that comfortable life, where they get this land, they're like, you know, looking at the brother, like, what are we gonna do with it? Oh, you know how much land is right now, and then they split it and sell it all. To somebody that makes a bunch of fucking little, you know, housing communities out of it and shit. And so it keeps going away. And even here, you'll talk to people about getting hay, straw, stuff like that. It's just like, you know, they're cut off at like 30 cows with their land. Because, you know, that's all they can feed off of their land. And then during the wintertime, it's like, man, they struggle finding, you know, if they don't buy straw when it's cut, like when it's rolled, then they got issues later of trying to find it. So I don't know how it is over in North Carolina.
It's everything's just gotten wonky. You know what I mean? The price of everything has gone up. Hay, I mean, I don't know, you know, what you guys do or don't pay attention to ag or farming or anything like that. But I mean, there's articles that have been coming out, you know, every couple of weeks, every month, whatever, about how, you know, just feed is at an all-time high. The price to purchase feed is at an all-time high, which, I mean, you know, and then you got to try to pass that on, right? But without hurting anybody, and that's just, I don't know.
It's challenging because, you know, I got a buddy that he usually buys 3 or 4 baby pigs, and then he raises them and slaughters them for him and his family and his friends. He's not doing it this year because of that reason right there, just because of the cost of feed. He said between the chickens that he has and buying some pigs to feed and take care of and worm and everything else, that it's just too much on his budget, you know?
And I mean, just to put it in perspective, from the time that I got my last round of pigs to the time that I slaughtered them, right, talking like 7 months, you pretty much, when you get those animals and you know that you know they're there and you're going to slaughter them and you know how long it's going to be until you do, as soon as you get them on site, you call the butcher, right, and you schedule your date, because that's a whole other thing now is facilities, right? When all this started happening, you know, some of them didn't have manpower, so they shut down. So if you want your stuff processed USDA, which is what's going to allow you to sell anywhere you want to sell, right? You got to go with a USDA facility. That's fine. But from the time that I called to the time that I butchered, there was a 30-cent per pound increase.
Wow.
Now, 30 cents doesn't sound like a lot until you start talking about thousands of pounds of meat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but that's what, that's what people aren't thinking about. And that's what people don't realize that aren't doing it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so that's why I try to, when I talk to customers and when we post stuff on our social media, you know, we just try to educate throughout the process. Like, this is what we're selling, sell the value, right?
Yep.
So I'm not saying you can't find value at the grocery store, but you're going to pay even more than you're going to pay for some local farmers.
Yep.
If you're trying to buy quote unquote local or grass fed or whatever from the grocery store.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. So fast forward a little bit, you guys now are in the farming business. You've got pigs. I remember from the Salty Soldier, you talked about your wife has the elderberries, right?
Yeah, she was the first one to really do anything with what we had, to be completely honest with you. She started a elderberry syrup company. And actually the first home that we leased when we moved out here before we bought where we're at now, she started that. And I don't remember what I said on Salty Soldier in regards to that, but yeah, she started that kind of on a whim and didn't think it was going to turn into, definitely didn't think it was going to turn into what it is now. Yeah. But yeah, she like I said, my daughter was at this point when she started, maybe a year and a half. It was flu season. She saw some of this stuff at the store, in a bottle, and she was giving it to my daughter, just we were all kind of taking it to I'd never heard of it. And my wife's way smarter than me. She's got a science background and all that kind of stuff. So she starts giving it to my daughter, and she's taking it, and I started taking it. And then she's one of these types that she can figure, she's like, well, I can probably make it. So she figured out how to make it. And then it just, women talk, right? So church and this, that, and the other. Next thing you know, she's making multiple jars of this stuff for people. And, I'm busy working. I'm just, yeah, whatever. Okay, that's cool. This is what a stay-at-home mom does. She does her little, sells body wraps, or is a freaking photographer. You know what I'm talking about.
Home base type of.
Yeah. You don't have to work out. Just put this wrap on and you'll lose 500 pounds.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, start a business, whatever. And man, I've definitely eaten my words, because it took off, and she built a legit website. She did all the back end stuff. And she did it on her own.
He ended up being the stay-at-home mom. He just didn't know it.
Dude, man, listen, I would love that. I tell her all the time, I'm like, anytime you want to switch this up, I got nothing left to prove. So I'll wear a damn sundress if that's what you want. I don't care. So she kicked that off, and that was going, and that was kind of the first thing, and that took off, and I was shocked. And then we bought this place, and she was still doing that. She's been shipping that stuff all around the country for years now.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, we started doing what we're doing now. We're just we got the coffee, and obviously the shirts and the hats and the pork, and really where I've got my sights set on now, man, is beef. I'm not going to be able to do anything large scale by any means, but enough to keep us busy and keep people fed.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where things are at.
So going back to the Salty Soldier, you mentioned something in there about how you've got like a shared program to help feed veterans and stuff like that. Is that still going on?
So that's kind of something that I talked about that we're trying to figure out how to start the right way. Okay. So there are some local farmers here that we've kind of, shared pork for beef and things like that on a very, very, very small level. Got some other people that do a lot of deer hunting. So we've shared some pork for venison.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to figure out is the right way, and I don't want to do it half-assed, right?
Right, absolutely.
So what I want to figure out is, do I start a 501c3 or something like that? Do I just start a Facebook page? But that can easily turn into a crap show too.
It can.
But with the goal of just, like I said, if if you've got eggs or you've got veggies or beef or pork or a tractor or whatever it is, like, let's barter and trade to help one another, with just the goal being taking the power back from this giant machine, even if it's just on a small scale,
right.
And with that, there's plenty of veterans organizations out there, as you guys know, but there's some local ones out here. There's specifically a homeless facility specifically for, veterans.
Awesome.
And my thought is, let's give away some money, or some food rather, like, let's donate what we can to at least feed them.
Yep.
Or help feed them. Because really, man, if I could do anything and make a living from it, it would either be farming or working for some type of veterans organization. I mean, that's really the populace that I care about, obviously, the most. Not that I don't care about others, but
I think that that's kind of similar to what led us to doing what we're doing,
Yeah.
Savai Army, Doug started it in 2016, and it was more about trying to help veteran families, pay for the cost to have their kids do things that a lot of other families can do because they got the money, but it kind of kills veterans because of deployments and being gone and the cost to travel, to do dirt biking or whatever. And that's kind of where it started at. And then when I joined in, we both went to the local VFW, and we were like, what a shit show, man.
We joined that place, and then, went to a couple meetings, and we're just like, yeah, we're done. I mean, you guys, you ain't supporting veterans. You haven't supported veterans since we've been here.
Yeah. I mean a year later, they had not done one thing that actually helped veterans. They were spending money and so excited about how much money they had in their bank accounts from bingo and shit, but it wasn't going back out to the veterans.
Yeah.
So we kind of walked away from that, and we just started a place to kind of be more like a hub, just to a place to bring that camaraderie that a lot of soldiers lose when they leave and they feel alone. And that transitioning, just like you said, man, when you get out, what you think's going to happen versus the reality of what really happens, and you find out that you're just a low end number. You're not anybody of any importance anymore now to the government or to anybody in the future. So we started looking at the veteran suicide rate and everything else, and we just kind of wanted to start finding organizations out there that help veterans that are not being paid. Like, everybody knows about the VA, and it's hit or miss. You go to some VAs and they're great, and you go to other ones and you're like, how in the hell are you even still open? So we've been looking for local organizations and smaller scale that are reputable that help, and we found a lot of resources that just, if you don't stumble in the right place, you just don't find them.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great veterans organizations out there and charities and things like that, but there's also a very healthy number of them that are I don't know how to put this, that are
the Wounded Warrior Project.
It's almost like you said, what's that?
The Wounded Warrior Project.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, case in point. Yeah. Right there. I mean, but like you're talking about, I haven't spent any amount of time at our local VFW here simply for the fact that, one, I don't drink anymore, but I would still go there even if I didn't, if I thought that it was all it is a hangout for locals, really. It's not even, I'm not saying there's not vets in there, but it's I don't see them do. And listen, I could be wrong. This is from 30,000 feet. I'm looking at it, right? But I don't see them doing anything. I don't hear about anything. All I hear about is debauchery from over there. So I don't know, man.
It was the same here, man.
I'm a cynic on pretty much everything at this point in life. Yeah. But really I feel like the veteran support, and I'm making blanket statements now, right? So I understand that there's exceptions to this, but there's a lot of pandering going on now, right?
Yep.
So we just made it out of Pride Month, right? So but everything's a month. and then everything's put on a helmet or a T-shirt or an icon, or we change this to a rainbow or this to pink. And but half of these, the NFL is getting paid by the DoD for this stuff. They're not doing it because they care.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So I don't know, man.
You're absolutely right. The one organization, and we last year we did a charity competition shoot for and we raised some money for Tunnel for Towers.
Right.
And
that's an awesome one, by the way.
It is. I absolutely love it, and it's probably the only large scale organization for veterans that I even really support. The rest of them, like I said, just like you start looking at the bottom line of how much money actually went to the veterans, and it's pretty shady,
Right. Yeah.
So, but we didn't raise a lot. We raised about $500 for them, and that was kind of where we started out at, and now we're July 9th, we're getting ready to do another shoot. And that money's going to go towards helping us grow a little bit so we can reach more people to prevent some veteran suicide. But it's starting to grow, and people will have a great time, and it does exactly what we want. It brings the camaraderie and everybody around, and we just have a good time,
That's awesome.
Not all military either.
No,
civilians come as well, So
right. That's awesome. And we need more of those that are genuinely focused.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That are, and I will say, I don't work for them. I don't get a kickback. I've donated some money since I went through a program there. But if you haven't heard of it, or anybody listening hasn't heard of it, the Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, I don't know if you've heard of them at all.
I have not.
I don't know if you've heard of a man named Chad Robichaud.
No.
It sounds familiar.
So there's a chance you may have seen him in the last, I'd say 2-3 years. He started getting some spots on Fox News occasionally, but he started a program called Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. I forget how many years ago, maybe 13 or 14, somewhere in there. So he was a recon guy, JSOC, Marine Corps, multiple deployments. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, champion. He fought in Strike Force. Just an overall badass.
Yeah.
And basically, because of the stuff that we're talking about, self-sabotaged himself in a lot of ways, which he would admit, and dug himself out, yada, 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 starts this program. And what they do is they bring veterans, they have retreats now set up, right, for vets. And they vet you first. You got to send them your DD-214 so they can see if you've, what you've done, or if you're legit, right?
Right.
But they pay for everything. They pay for your transportation there. They pay for the time that you're there. For lodging, food. You don't pay for anything. It's kind of one of those things. Just get there.
Yeah.
Just get there. And it is faith-based, but it's not a sit around a campfire kumbaya, it's like a legitimate let's get to the root of this stuff kind of thing.
Yeah.
Let's break it down. It's helped with the divorce rate. But it's about saving marriages and veteran suicide. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I would tell anybody, whether they're faith-based or not, to look into it, that it's a great organization to support rather.
Uh-huh.
And he's now, because of how this has grown and what it's done for vets, he's now speaking at NCRD San Diego to guys that are just graduating boot camp, right, before they even get to the fleet or go on a deployment. And same thing out at Parris Island. He's gotten, some notoriety, on Fox News. He's one of the guys that, and fact check me on this, but when our glorious administration pulled out of Afghanistan in the middle of the night,
mm-hmm.
and we set, that kind of crew that went over there and started evacuating people.
Yeah.
So Chad is the one that called Tim Kennedy, because they're friends, And then they started that Save Our Allies kind of thing. There were some other people involved in that as well.
Yeah.
But Chad,
Yep.
Yeah.
so yeah,
I heard that Joe Rogan thing with Tim Kennedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was on Joe Rogan. Absolutely.
Went over
So
there.
he was
started with saving their turf or pulling their turf out.
Yep.
Yeah. So they and I won't tell that whole story because there's other people telling it. But they evacuated, I think, what was it? 12,000 people?
It was a ridiculous number.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Chad Robichaud, Mighty Oaks, he's the one that kind of spearheaded that.
Okay.
And the Independence Fund helped out with that as well, which is another actually really great organization. And then this guy goes into Ukraine like a month ago, unarmed, with Dakota Meyer, and they're trying to do the same thing, to help people. They're unarmed, they're going through tunnels, they're doing route reconnaissance and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just saying all that to say, like, that's the man behind that organization. And it's a genuine great organization. If anybody's listening and they're struggling, I would highly recommend looking into that.
Yeah, we'll look that up.
Yeah, we'll try to reach out to him and see if we can't have him on the show too.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's a few good ones out there, but a lot of them are just, it's the sexy thing to do.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
well, I think we're gonna go ahead and end here.
No.
You guys, okay?
Fuck no, we got some shit to talk about.
Let's talk about it.
Oh yeah.
We gotta talk about your name.
Yeah.
Let's do it. What do you want to know?
The first thing you actually did was MorningWood Farms, right?
Correct. That's
where did the name start? Absolutely. I forgot all about that.
So as soon as I realized we were leaving the city and we were going to the country, and we had we were going to have some land, before we had anything, I'm just like, all right, well, we're going to have a farm. I'm calling it MorningWood Farm because it sounds like a farm, but it's also about wieners. So listen, I'm an idiot through and through, and I'm going to do what's funny to me, despite what anybody else may think.
That's awesome, man. That is fucking awesome.
I appreciate it. I didn't know that it was going to turn into where it is now. Not that we're massive or anything, but we're building a following. And I just kept doubling down on it. In the beginning, people thought I was joking. Oh, okay, haha. And then it started like, I had a buddy make us a little sign for just teeny, like hanging in the wall to MorningWood Farm. And then once people saw me, I was in the beginning, it was just posting pictures with the horses or outside doing stuff with my kids and hashtag MorningWood Farm, right?
Yeah.
And then when we bought the place that we're at now, and we got some chickens, and it was more about getting people laughing, but showing that we're out, just showing what we're doing, right? And then I just okay, let's donate some money to the sheriff's department in the name MorningWood Farm, right? And then it's like, let's just do. So man, again, everybody thought I was just being dumb and joking because I do that often, but I was just like, no, if I have a farm, I'm obviously calling it MorningWood Farm. You're not going to not call it that. So, and then it's just continued. We made the first T-shirt and it says "We're up early" on the back. We I don't know if you guys have checked out the website recently. About a month and a half ago, we launched, I call it our John Hambo shirt. It's a hog with a red bandana on the top.
Oh yeah.
And it says MorningWood Farming on the back. It says "Put our meat in your mouth." So yeah, man. I mean, I'm just gonna take it as far as I can take it. So
I remember the Salty Soldier. You said you paid to have the street named Morningwood Way.
I want to. I haven't done it yet. I inquired to the county and they told me what I have to do even basically, I have to fill out some paperwork, of course, go to a board meeting, a county board meeting, pay $100 just for the application. And then I guess I have to make a case or explain as to why I want it done. So I'm going to have to, I haven't done it yet just because there's other more important things to do, but the goal is to do that.
Well, that's pretty important, man.
I mean, it is.
You need to raise that a little above it. Yeah.
But yeah, could you imagine having the sign, literally they change. So my driveway is probably about a quarter mile long off the road, gravel driveway.
Uh-huh.
And so if they put a sign there, I mean, that's it. You know what I mean? Like we're on the map.
Yep.
So my wife's like, well, what if we sell the place? And I said, well, then it's the longest running joke ever. You know what I mean? Because someone else is going to have to live on Morningwood Way. And that makes me happy.
I was just going to say that, like, well, what if you piss somebody off? Well, I guess you left your fucking mark there then.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I have to, when I do it, obviously I have to explain it. I have to pretend it's not what it's about. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if I told the story on Salty Soldier, but, just setting up the paperwork at the post office for the PO box. I had to repeat, there's a couple guys in line and I'm turning in the paperwork and she's like, okay, Morningwood Farm. And then she's reading off the email, Morningwood Farm USA. And she's saying it out loud repeatedly. Right. And I'm trying to just be like, yep, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I got dudes chuckling behind me, you know what I mean? And so, it's, I don't know. I probably shouldn't say this part. I'm going to say it anyways. My wife might kill me. I don't know. So my wife homeschools the kids, right?
Uh-huh.
And you have to you have to register your school name. You have to turn in a name, right? For the state. Okay. And so she's like, well, what should we call it? And she's saying these different names that sound normal and nice or whatever. And I go, Morningwood Christian Academy. And she's like, well, you're an idiot, And I go, no, I'm serious. Like, call it Morningwood Christian Academy. Could you imagine, honey, like if the kids go all the way through 12th grade and, the state gives a diploma, right? Because you got to turn all that stuff in. And it says Morningwood Christian Academy on it. I'm like, we could make Morningwood Christian Academy t-shirts. You know what I mean? I'm just thinking, what's another way to throw it in the man's face? So there's no pun intended.
Morningwood University, Wienerology.
Yeah, right. Yeah. All we focus on is anatomy. Yeah. So so the kids currently go to Morningwood Christian Academy in case anybody wants to enroll their child. Yeah.
North Carolina.
In North Carolina.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, who knows? We might do an e-learning program that I don't know about yet.
Yeah.
Sex ed will never be the same.
But it's funny, man, because the kids, like even my son, he's a chip off the old block. He's 2. But I mean, they're running around in Morningwood Farm t-shirts all the time that say we're up early on the back of them. And it's funny in certain environments, if someone sees it, they're like, what is that? What is this real? Why does he have his kid wearing that? So
the Walmart Karens are probably having meltdowns.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm sure. So yeah, dude, I'm gonna take it as far as I can take it. That's for sure.
Man.
Just like you said, if you're gonna do it, you do it right, right?
That's right. So
absolutely, absolutely.
That's how it came about.
Yeah, I thought it was his last name when you first told me about it.
No.
I was like, his last name's Morningwood? That's what it is? Morningwood. Most people name their farm after their last name, too.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
It's like,
if I could only have been blessed enough to be, my last name be Morningwood, man. That would have. Could you imagine going through basic with a last name like Morningwood?
Oh yeah, no. That would be. I would lie.
Yeah.
That ain't my name.
Yeah, you legally change your name once that happens.
Yeah. And I was looking at some pictures. So we got a friend that their kid just left for basics, right?
Right.
And I don't know how he's getting these, but he's getting pictures of when they went through the gas chamber and all that shit.
Yeah, because these dudes are allowed to cell phones now.
Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck is on his head? And they're like, what are you talking about? I said, he has hair.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't shave him?
No, I mean it's short, but it's not buzzed. It looks like a flat top.
The fuck?
Yeah, that's what I said. I said, how the fuck do they get hair?
Yeah, I this kid out here that I shouldn't call him a kid, 21, 22 now, but he's been doing farm. I mean, yeah, he is still a kid. He's been doing farm work for me for the last several years, but he joined the National Guard, I guess beginning of this year. But yeah, I'd occasionally get a text from him or something like that. And I'm like, dude, how are you texting me?
Yeah,
But I guess they gave them their phones on the weekend or something, and they got to go to the PX or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't understand that, but
yeah, me neither.
Well, when we went through, cell phones weren't even a thing.
No.
You know, we still had pay phones with calling cards and shit that we had to call home with. Right?
Yeah.
Like once a weekend, line up. You got 10 minutes or whatever the fuck it was.
Yep. When I was in Bosnia, I mean, even that was 98. There's still there was cell phones out there. There were the prepaid ones that people were using, but
the bricks didn't come out until like what 2000. Flip phones around 2003.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Because
nobody knows about nobody knows.
Huh?
Yeah. I know. I just said nobody knows about playing Snake anymore on a Nokia. That's for sure.
In Puerto Rico on a street corner last week, right? I seen a payphone. I looked at my son. I was like, "Hey, boy, do you know what the fuck that is?" I was like, "You see that thing on the street corner? Do you know what that is?" And he's just staring at it like,
it's like seeing a Blockbuster or something.
Yeah. So it's fucking crazy. I mean, there's shit like that still out there.
Yeah.
It didn't work, but it was still out there.
We imagine now, right? Back in the day when you went in there, the one thing that none of them ever had was a phone book because somebody had stole the phone book out of there.
Oh yeah.
I promise you right now, you could put a phone book in one and nobody would touch it.
Oh, no.
I know I don't even know how we got to telling that, but yeah, me and my wife were trying to tell my daughter the other night about how there used to be this big book and you had to find the number and it was all foreign to her. She can't grasp that.
Books?
Yeah, my mom got one in the mail.
Really?
I said, who the hell sent you a phone book? That's a scam.
Yeah, for real. And a giant misallocation of funds at this stage in the game. To the guy that's like, yeah, let's keep producing these. I mean, if you're talking about the bottom line, who the hell is doing that?
Yeah, absolutely.
If Yellow Book, if you're listening, if you're still doing that, you're wrong.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, well, yeah, no, I don't know, guys. That's all I got. Unless you have any more questions for me.
No, I think that's it, man. But I definitely appreciate you coming on. We'll go ahead and do our closing, and then once we end the recording, I got a few more things I want to ask you real quick.
Absolutely. And just in case, I don't know if now's the time I'm supposed to, but if anybody's looking for us at all, you can find us on any social medias at MorningWood Farm USA. So Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
As well as our website, morningwoodfarmusa.com.
Okay. Absolutely. Hey, everybody knows that we do these in attempt to try to get people to laugh today to live tomorrow. That's kind of our motto. We combat veteran suicide until the day that it's 0 a day. There's some organizations out there. If you guys need some help, say something. If you're on the West Coast, Chief Rathburn's site, leavingthesideline.org, a great organization. If you're a female veteran and you're on the East Coast, Brooke Jackson, she's the veteran.org. There's always the suicide hotline, 1-800-273-8255, extension 1 if you are a veteran. If you want to reach out to us, you can hit us up on Messenger. You can hit us up on support@savajiarmy.com, through our website, Facebook, Savai Army, TikTok.
Leave a comment on TikTok, YouTube. Leave a comment on our podcast. We'll get back to you.
If you just want to talk, hang out, hit us up. We appreciate it. Y'all take care.